A visit to the Victims of Communism Memorial in July has inspired the Vietnamese Diaspora to establish a day of prayer for victims of Vietnamese communism. Last July 7th, a number of Vietnamese Americans drove cross-country from Orange County, California to D.C. to join a large demonstration in front of the White House to protect the visit of CPV Secretary General Nguyen Phu Trong. After the protest, the group took advantage of its presence in D.C. to visit the Victims of Communism Memorial, which many of them have heard about. On this occasion, they performed a small prayer ceremony in the name of Victims of Vietnamese Communism, amounting to at least 6 million according to some well-informed sources. They were joined also by other Vietnamese Americans coming from Arkansas, Ohio, Iowa, Illinois, besides those coming from closer Virginia and Maryland. The idea of a day of prayer for victims of Vietnamese communism was floated on that day, and it met immediately with the approval from those present. Upon their return to California, Mr. Phan Qui Non, the eldest person among the group, discussed the idea in a series of meetings with the Interfaith Committee and the Vietnamese community of Southern California, who also gave their instant approval. The only matter that required some deliberation had to do with determining an appropriate date certain during the year for such a day of the prayer. Finally, the decision was made to pick the fourth weekend of the month of August, which this year falls on the Buddhist All Souls Day, when it is customary in the Vietnamese tradition to prepare food and pray for the peace of wandering souls. Despite the closeness of the date, several localities responded to the call of the Interfaith Committee and the Vietnamese community of Southern California to honor such a day starting this year, 40 years after the fall of South Vietnam. The main event was staged in Westminster, California at the Vietnamese American Memorial on the evening of Saturday, August 29, 2015. What is notable is that the event was attended by representatives from every faith known in the Vietnamese community, participants from most of the major organizations in the Vietnamese Diaspora, including veterans of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Vietnam, and even Mayor Tri Ta of Westminster, California. Houston and D.C. were among other localities joining in the effort. And since Eastern Standard Time was 3 hours ahead of California, it was the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area which inaugurated the first Day of Prayer for Victims of Vietnamese Communism at 6 p.m. Saturday, August 29, 2015. Although the gathering was small, it was nonetheless joined by representatives of several faiths, including those from the Hoa Hao Buddhist and Cao Dai churches. Hopefully this movement will catch on, so by that next year one can expect not only the diaspora around the world to commemorate this day, but also churches in Vietnam to join this meaningful event. On the occasion of this first Day of Prayer for Vietnamese Communism, Ms. Trong Thuy, a well-known poet from Arlington, Virginia, was inspired to write a moving funeral oration translated by Professor Nguyen Ngoc Bich of the National Congress of Vietnamese Americans.